never be prepared to be honest, because like you mentioned, right, these kids, they're not normal per se. They come with very different backgrounds. It's really case by case, so they come with a whole set of baggage with them.
For new foster parents, it's like, whoa, what is this? It's very daunting, because I guess when you think about fostering, you don't think about the challenges that will come. Now you think that, oh, this child is like so poor thing, I need to sayang, but the actual challenges are really there lah.
When my younger brother came, right, he was like 2 years old, and it's so scary for me because I remember the very first day when I saw him, he was like stuck to my mother, and he refused to say anything. He was just like latching on, like really just latching on, and then I was so confused. So why is he like this? Why is he acting like this? It's just his first day, man.
Hi everyone, welcome back and thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Spill the Tea with THG. And by now, if you have been following us, you will know that our podcast series aim to talk about societal issues that are very close to our hearts. And we hope that the episode 1 and 2 topics are very relatable to you. So do continue to tune in to us on Spotify.
And do find us on Facebook and Instagram.
And I am XY.
I'm Samantha.
And today we are so happy to actually have 2 new guests join us for this episode. They are Aquila and Hannah. Hello. And today we are actually going to talk about fostering children in Singapore. And Aquila is actually a social worker working in a fostering agency. And Hannah actually has a 5-year-old foster brother, right? So they are actually here to share about their knowledge and experience about fostering. So in-house, Samantha here has a 5-year-old daughter named Alyssa, right? So you probably have 5 years of experience in parenting, right? So how much do you actually know about fostering?
When you say fostering, do you mean adopting?
Adopting, no. They're actually 2 separate things, okay? Fostering, it's probably a temporary arrangement care for a child, and adopting is like a permanent arrangement. Am I right to say that, Aquila? Yeah. So maybe, Aquila, you can share with us a bit of what you actually do at the fostering agency.
Okay, so I'm actually a social worker in a fostering agency, and then I work slightly less than a year in the agency already. And what I do is basically I support foster parents and foster children in the whole foster care environment. Yeah.
Okay. Then maybe can you just clarify my definition then? What is the difference between fostering and adoption, just for our listeners?
Okay, so like you mentioned, foster care is actually a temporary care arrangement. So what that means is eventually the goal for foster children is to eventually return to their biological family or their natural family, as we term it. And that the difference is adoption would be permanent, legal, kind of like severing the natural parents' rights to the child when adoption takes place. But foster care, the child is still like the legal child of the natural family.
Right. So, wow, that means that there's gonna be like an emotional detachment at some point for fostering, right? Yeah, and I think, Hannah, you probably can relate a lot to it. Like, do you know at some point, you probably already know like at some point that you're gonna have that emotional detachment. How are you preparing yourself for it?
I think because from the get-go already, we kind of know what we are stepping into. So like when my parents decided that they want to foster, and obviously me and my siblings, we didn't know anything about fostering. And when they told us about fostering, and I'm like, what's that? Is that adoption? We had the same questions as you guys lah. And she was like, no, eventually, this kid will go back to the natural parents. And then my first thought was just like, oh my God, that would be difficult. So like if that kid stays with us for 10 years and then after that you need to go back to your natural parents, how would that feel, right? Yeah, but I think there has been a lot of support lah. I mean, I've had my younger brother for 3 going 4 years already, and it's quite difficult every year because we always thought that every year it will be our last year with him. Yeah, and we never know like when's our last year.
Okay, so they don't tell you like how long you will have your brother?
At first they do.
Okay.
So at first I think my parents were told that it was just 1 year. But then things happen, and then it's really case by case lah. So for him, is his mom was in prison, and then now she's out, and then but the ministry will still need to reevaluate whether she's able to take back their child.
So in a situation like that, I guess it's case by case basis. So of course would it be a preferred option then to continue to let that current family handle that child, or let's say if it's 3-year mark it's up, let's say then the ministry or in this case a fostering agency would then relook, or is it a preferred option for them to
So
continue?
the thing with foster care is that there's no like fixed timeline to how long the family will be taking care of the child, and it also really depends on how well or how stable the child's natural family is.
Okay.
So it can be as short as 6 months, it can be as long as 5 years, and we as social workers also don't know the timeline.
Right.
It really changes as time goes by. And so if the assessment is, I think we make an assessment every 6 months or 1 year. If the child and the natural family is able to care for the child again, then we will return the child to the
Okay.
natural family.
Ultimately, it's really for the child's well-being.
Yeah,
what's the
definitely.
best thing for the child, right? And that's so important, right? So, okay, so this question is for Hannah. Then, what was your how did your family come into having a decision to actually foster?
Okay, so I think my mom saw a newspaper article
Right.
on this family. She's been fostering for 18 years, and she had multiple foster children. So it came out in the news, and then my mother was reading it. And then I was like, hey, I know this family. So this family is actually my secondary school mate lah. The entire family, as in all the siblings, they're all my seniors. So I know them, and they live very near us. And I was like, oh yeah, this is my friend. And then it's like, oh, that's so cool. And then I think she got inspired through that newspaper article. And then it's like, oh, let's find out more about this. And then she went to a road show, I think, somewhere. Yeah, and then she find out that it's actually quite a cool thing, and then it'll be nice to give back to the community and stuff. So yeah, that's
Okay.
how we got it.
Okay,
to do that.
then at the beginning, y'all probably have done your own research on like fostering and adoption and all that, and clearly y'all went with the path that you're knowing that what fostering care is.
Yeah.
Right. But that's probably your parents' decision.
Yeah.
Right. How about you? Like, or how did they deliver the news? Hey, you're gonna have a new sibling in the house.
So at first, my mom is like the leader of this whole thing lah, huh?
Okay.
So she
It's always the mom.
spoke to us individually, I think. Yeah, and then there was one day we all sat down at the table and then we talked about it. Are you guys okay to do this? And they need to interview you and stuff like that. And then when we came to terms, we said, okay, I think it's not a very bad thing, right? So we all agreed. It was a consensus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the interview application process, we always encourage interested applicants, who are usually the parents, to always discuss it with the family
Correct.
first. Like, is this going to be something that your whole family is willing to take on as a responsibility? Because it definitely involves the whole family.
Yeah.
You can't really
Correct.
separate the life of the foster child with the rest of the family.
Yeah.
So that's why we always encourage families to do.
Right.
Discuss
And
about
I'm
it.
sure that also will ensure that the support is definitely there as a family, because this
Yeah.
is in
a
technically a
huge
new
help,
family member for a long
Yeah.
period of time, right?
So it's quite interesting, like the interview process was quite like the questions that they ask is just like whoa, because they were really it's very detailed. They were really like, I remember my interview, they were asking about how was my memory like growing up with my
Right.
parents. So they were asking things like, does your parents abuse you or anything? Do you have any memories of that? And I'm just like, no lah, don't have lah, where got, And then so they also go to your house and check
A
whether
lot
it's
of
safe or not.
the interview is mainly to assess whether this family will be safe and nurturing for the foster child, not just physical safety, but like emotional safety, belongingness, and how these foster parents view the child. Is this a child to fill up my empty time, like recreational thing, or is this something that I know I really want to help this child nurture him or her into to be better again lah, in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, because ultimately, really, it's also knowing that this child needs to be in a good environment, and I think also it's necessary lah to do the background checks to really make sure that this child will be in a safe environment, right? Yeah. Is it hard to be a foster parent, or maybe Aquila can answer this?
I honestly cannot say for foster parents lah, but in my work with them, they do share struggles and challenges, and there are more struggles and challenges compared to good moments, happy moments, because these children, they are not normal children in a sense. They come from certain backgrounds, certain difficult experiences. Having been neglected, abused, not cared for adequately in terms of not enough food, not enough clothes, that kind, don't even go to school. So when they come into a foster family, one, there's a new environment. Who are all these people? Who is this adult? Who is this girl? Who is this boy? And then like, how am I supposed to relate to them? What is my relationship to them? And that's one challenge. And so they might display that in terms of withdrawing from the foster family. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to share anything with you. Or they might act out aggressively. When they're angry, they throw tantrum or like hit you. So there are a lot of these challenges with foster parents when the children come into their care. And for new foster parents, it's like, whoa, what is this? It's very daunting, because I guess when you think about fostering, you don't think about the challenges that will come. Now you think that, oh, this child is like so poor thing, I need to sayang, but the actual challenges are really there lah.
And definitely that's why I was just looking up the criteria of it, and one of it is is to have experience in caring and living with children, to exhibit strong parenting skills, right? So in that case, you know, Samantha, you probably have enough experience already. Five years of experience with your daughter. Have you ever considered fostering?
Nope.
No.
Never ever.
Okay, why not?
Because I think I was like very sad, separate from my daughter. So I was like,
You mean like as in your
the whole emotional detachment part for her lah. If it's me, I would also be that will be a strong part of me. So I like on a yearly basis, I wouldn't know whether or not I will lose. And you know, because you have invested so much time and effort in a child, and then you also want to make sure that this child after leaving you will be well taken care of lah. And this is, I mean, let's put it honestly, even for a 18-year-old going into adulthood, you know, a lot of times parents are still worried about, okay, can he really take care of himself? You know, can she really, will she actually find a good husband, you know, in future? So all these are like real issues and about emotional detachment that you probably have with someone that you're gonna live with for a period of time. But have you cases, Aquila, of people wanting to give up along the way?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even I know.
Oh, you know, okay.
Do you wanna share like how was it in the first few years or first few?
Yeah, maybe share a bit about challenge, because I know when we can talk about it at the very beginning of, okay, let's prepare ourselves for this newcomer, but nothing it's probably as ideal as it can be.
You can never be prepared lah, to be honest, because like you mentioned, right, these kids, they're not normal per se. They come with very different backgrounds. It's really case by case, so they come with a whole set of baggage with them, with their like trauma and everything, because they each have,
even though they're just 2 years old.
So when my younger brother came, right, he was like 2 years old, and it's so scary for me, because I remember the very first day when I saw him, he was like stuck to my mother, and he refused to say anything. He was just like latching on, like really just latching on, and then I was so confused. So why is he like this? Why is he acting like this? It's just his first day, man. And then we tried talking to him, and even our social worker didn't really know much about his background, and we don't even know whether he could understand Malay, he could understand English, because he didn't respond to us at all. So that continued for I think a few weeks lah.
Okay.
So it took a lot of effort on my parents' side to really break the ice, even though he's just 2 years old. And then we noticed a lot of things. We noticed that he likes to drink sweet drinks and not milk. So that says a lot. And then we noticed that he recognized the brand Maggie. You know, so it's these kind of little things that we notice, and then we're like, oh, okay. And then when we asked our social worker, also, do you think he can only eat this food? He can only drink this? Do you think has he ever tried eating this? It's really all these small things, you know, that we notice. So it's very different from raising your own child, because you know what your child is like, but you don't know what this child is like.
So like what I think sometimes we don't realize that even though they are so young, they bring certain. They are so used to what they have been always living in. So even though it's not ideal circumstances, like a 2-year-old eating Maggie is obviously not ideal, and or drinking sweet drinks instead of milk. But when they come into your home, that's what they know. That's their comfort zone. That's
Correct.
basically what they know their whole life. So for a foster family to come in and reverse it, or like encourage more healthier and better habits, that's where it doesn't only take like an interest to foster a child, it takes commitment and patience as well.
Correct.
Definitely. Yeah. So, in the initial stages of the challenges, right? You probably what are the kind of support that you have received as a family that help you actually take care of him?
I think my mother was quite is very well aware of these things. I think she did a lot of research, and she went through all the courses as well, because they need to take courses together with the husband, with my dad lah. So as a family, what she did was she told me, okay, you guys cannot expect to have a normal sibling. You need to know that, okay, this child is different. So that, in a sense, I think because me and my siblings were all adults already, we understand things very easily lah. It's not very difficult for us to absorb, right? So we also emotionally and like mentally we are prepared in a sense. But then when he arrived, and we're like, oh my god, culture shock, like oh no, yeah. And I think not just our immediate family, but our like relatives, my grandparents, they're also very supportive. Like, oh, so my younger brother is like this. So we explain what is all fostering is about, and yeah, that's the kind of support that we get as a family.
Right. Okay. And you also mentioned just now that by the time you're actually foster your brother, you're all already adults, right? So just curious that as from a fostering agency perspective, do you all actually assess that? I know one of the requirements that I mentioned just now is the experience, that strong parenting experience, but what does that entail? Like, like Samantha's case, 5 years, is 5 years of parenting skills enough? Or is it, how do you assess that?
How do you assess? I mean, you actually don't need to have your own child to be a foster parent. So, in general, it's more of like experience caring or interacting with children. Yeah, and it can be your nieces and nephews. It can be, professional. You are a childcare teacher, maybe, and you have experience taking care of children. So, those kind of experiences are what we kind of tend to look out for in terms of, will you be able to care for a child?
I do know of some foster parents, they don't have their own child.
So there are some childless couples or newly married couples, like 2 years and don't have children yet, then they want to try out fostering. And then there's also families whose children are already adults, so they want to take younger children to nurture.
I see. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the criteria to become a foster parent. It's actually what I'm reading now is actually not too difficult to be a foster parent. Probably just the experience part of it that is that most of the people are lacking. So one of it is like the first one is you have to be a Singapore resident. That is
or PR actually.
Or PR.
Yeah, okay. I have like a foster parent who's not Singaporean but PR or looking to stay in Singapore for a long term lah. Then it's kind of case by case also.
Okay. Then the second one is you must be at least 25 years old and married. That is important. You must be medically fit to take care of your children. Yeah. And then you need to have a minimum household income. You need to attain a secondary school education. You need to have we talked about it, experience in having strong parenting skills. You also need to be willing to provide and ensure a child-safe home environment for the foster child. And you must be willing to work with MSF or other professionals for the child's best interest. So all this, to me, it's very, it can be very obvious. So if you're really interested in fostering and you meet all these requirements, you can easily apply. But I also know that not everyone gets the green light to it, right? You have to, this probably get you to an interview to actually do fostering, right? And then there's a lot more to that you will probably have to assess and do all that. So how long does the whole process actually take?
How long did it take for you?
Oh my god, it's been so long. I think it was a couple of months.
Yeah,
A couple of
I think
months.
It takes about 2 to
Yeah,
3
it really
months.
depends. Cause I think my mother almost didn't make it lah. Cause there was a health checkup, right? There was a health checkup, and then she had some eye problem or something, and then they had to check again just to be sure that you are safe and you are healthy to take care of this kid. But yeah,
Yeah,
so a
they
couple of
tend to
months.
be- Yeah, they're very detailed in terms of who they allow to be foster parents because
Correct.
the children are vulnerable children under the protection of MSF, under ministry, and you cannot just allow any stranger or any person to care for these children. There needs to be certain criteria that you meet also.
Right.
Actually, I think based on the website, they cannot put everything there also lah. Then if not, then no foster parents will ever want to go inside. It'll be so scary, intimidating, right? Is your house safe? Cannot, right? So it's really basic lah. But as you go into the whole recruitment thing, is especially the interview part, and then they will ask things like very personal things. What do you like best about your parents? What do you do in your during your free time with your parents, kind of thing. Yeah, it's like that.
So does it change your thoughts on fostering, Samantha? Or are you going to stick with no still?
Stick with no.
Okay.
Still no.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's probably still the emotional
Yeah, I
detachment
think
part.
the emotional part because I raised her from young.
Okay.
No, but like, would you foster a child?
I think I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
I think she understood your question as would you
Yeah.
put her child up for fostering, which is
That's
like
right.
totally different.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Sorry. Okay, so that's what I meant. Okay. we track back. So what I meant is, would you as a parent now with the experience of parenting a child, okay, choose to foster a child? In this case, probably a second child. Would you? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We can talk more
That's
after
great.
this.
Okay, so a little bit about the emotional detachment part. Back on track a bit. How do the foster agency actually help families like that? Deal with the emotional detachment. And maybe that's a good tip for Hannah.
Oh my, okay. Honestly, the best we try to do is to provide a timeline. But like we mentioned earlier, the timeline is never fixed and can change. Can be shorter, can be longer. So we do our best to, because we work closely with child protection officers.
Okay.
Who are ministry officers lah. And they are the ones who kind of decide how long the child will continue to stay with the foster family. So we work to try and get the CPO to how long more is this case going to last? And then because if it's going to be 6 months, then maybe it's time to prepare the foster parent for the child to leave the foster home and go back to their natural family. During sessions when we know that it's 3 more months, then we have sessions with the foster parent to kind of reflect on how their journey, how has it been, what were the things that they enjoyed, what were things that were challenging. It's more of to enable them to have closure with.
It's like exit interview like that.
Yeah, we can honestly, social workers can only do so much because the real grief and I guess the pain or the loss is bared by the foster family.
But will they be allowed to still stay in contact with the foster children after that?
It really depends on whether the natural family would like that or not.
Okay.
So I know some who still stay in touch. And on their own personal arrangement, maybe see them during weekends and stuff like that. But some natural families don't like it lah. Yeah, because of
They have their own reasons, I guess.
they have reasons, maybe pride or shame, that kind of thing. So yeah, some don't decide not to stay in touch.
So what other forms of support does a fostering agency give? Apart from those that Hannah actually mentioned, the training that you provided for your parents, right?
Yeah.
What other long-term support can if I was a young adult wanting to do in fostering, right? Wanting to understand more of the kind of resources and support that I will get before making the decision, what would be important for me to know?
I think it would be important for you to know that you are not alone in the process.
Right.
Yeah. So the social worker who is managing the child's case will work very, very closely with you in terms of it can be arranging for the child to go to childcare, to student care, which school, primary one registration, these kind of things. The social worker will be there supporting you, and you are not like in it alone. And then when you go for when you are a new foster parent, you go for training, you meet other foster parents also. And then there's also like I'm not sure if it's annual or like every 3 months kind of thing. We have gatherings where all the foster parents can meet, and I think that's where foster parents find that's what they find most valuable, to have fellow foster parents in this journey with them.
Yeah, so my mom is in this chat group with other foster parents, and you know, whenever she has issues or she want to know, because she's considered a new foster parent, right? There are other foster parents out there that is like very experienced. Yeah, they're very experienced, and they know, like the one that I mentioned, like 18 years, you know.
Okay.
And then so sometimes she will ask lah, kak, how to deal with this kind of thing, and then they will just say.
I have one question. Can you adopt your foster child?
Good question.
So there are cases where it turns into adoption. That those cases are when the natural family is no longer involved in the care of the child, or expresses that they are no longer willing to care for the child. So in those cases where there's no way for the child to return to a natural family, then the foster parents can, we do give the option. So this child doesn't have a natural family to go back to, will you be interested to adopt? Yeah. So that I have foster parents who ask me, can I adopt? Yeah, so I'm sure.
Yeah. I think for my family, the one that really wants to adopt is actually my sister.
Oh, okay.
As in, not for reals, but always ask like, Mama, you want to adopt him or not?
Right.
No, in case cannot go back to the natural parents, you want or not? But obviously, it's a decision that has to be really like, you need to think through it for like seriously, because it's way more bigger commitment than fostering lah. I mean, I definitely want, but it's not my decision.
Right, ultimately it's that decision. So in the case of adoption, where it's I would call it a successful adoption, like process that goes through, the fostering agency also continues to provide that kind of support for them, right?
So once it becomes an adoption case and the child is officially adopted, then that's where fostering service will not continue to kind of provide support services because adoption is basically this child is yours. You're legal, right? And you are fully responsible for this child. So that's when the government will no longer be involved.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so to wrap things up, what would one tip or advice you would give to our listeners out there on fostering?
Okay, so I think to continue finding out more about foster care and what it really is about, because I think why there's been so much of a push or like greater awareness in getting the community to know more about foster care is because it's really one of the best alternatives to the child going to a home, institution where they don't get the needed attention. Yeah, so to really take the time to find out more about foster care in Singapore. Yeah.
Okay, Hannah?
I think for me is a tip, is it?
Yeah, a tip.
I think if you have any like ounce of interest in fostering, just don't be afraid to reach out and find out more lah, because you never know, you might be a foster parent and making a difference in someone's life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's actually befriending opportunities also. So if even though you or your family is not able to be a foster parent or foster family, then there are volunteering opportunities where you can interact with the child, bring them on outings, or just be a befriender lah.
Is this the same as Respite? No, right?
Respite is different.
Respite is.
What is Respite?
Sorry, that's just.
What is Respite?
Respite is sometimes when, so let's say your foster family wants to travel and the foster child is not allowed to follow because the natural parents don't allow them to travel with the foster family, then this child has to be placed in Respite Care, which is basically just another foster parent taking care of them for that period of time.
For that travelling period of time.
So
it could be a few days or...
Yeah. So my younger brother actually went Respite because my big brother wanted to get married and then we were damn busy that entire week. So my mom said, okay, let's try Respite. So we got a Respite Care service.
Okay,
So
but
that's also a form of support lah for
Yeah.
foster parents.
yeah. So in the case that because depending on the background of the foster child as well, but if it's you can't contact the natural family about it and you need to make a decision, does the foster agency help to make that decision for them or?
You mean to consent to travel? And
Yeah, the
stuff like
consent
that?
to travel, yes.
So if the natural family is uncontactable,
Yeah.
usually it's a court order. So the
Oh,
court,
okay.
in a court order, it will usually state that foster parents have the right to, so the court order will allow the foster parent to bring them overseas,
Okay.
to apply for passport, to apply for schooling, etc.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there will still be help and support available in that sense, so they don't have to be worried. I have travel plans and how about what I'm going to happen?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So Samantha, any tip and advice to our listeners? Yeah. Maybe from a parenting point.
Discipline your children.
Yeah, it's true.
Protect your children.
Yes.
Stable environment.
Yeah.
Don't do anything silly.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a very good advice. Yeah, because regardless or not, it's whether it's a foster child or it's your biological child, that it's basically a essential need as a parent to be able to protect this human being.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole idea of because growing up the child, you obviously they can't provide for themselves, so they need someone to provide for them, and having all these requirements is definitely important. And for me, for people that are considering to do fostering, it's really not to be afraid about it. I think we have heard from today's session there's just a lot of resources and support out there, and really to spread that awareness, to be willing to just take that step forward to even understand what fostering is it's about and how is it different from adoption, a temporary commitment as compared to a long-term commitment, right? Yeah. So I think thank you so much for you guys joining us today, and we really learned a lot from about fostering care, and I'm sure that our listeners do too. So listeners out there, if you have any comments or questions about fostering care, do leave us a comment or DM us, and we'll try our best to answer. If not, we'll find experts to help you answer those questions as well. And so for that, as a wrap, this is the end of Spill the Tea episode 3, and we hope to have more of these related topics that are close to our hearts for you in our following episodes. So do remember to continue to tune in to us on Spotify.
And do follow us in Instagram and Facebook.
Definitely. And if you haven't already listened to our first 2 episodes, do please go and listen to them on Spotify, Instagram and Facebook. Give us a like, comment, and we're gonna hope that we can continue to spread the awareness of social issues out there, as well as a season 2 of Spill the Tea with THG. Bye.